in the valley, bright as the morning star. There's a lily in the valley, bright as the morning star. There's a lily in the valley, brighter than the morning star. Save me, help me, help me. Somebody found joy in the valley, brighter than the morning star. There is joy in the valley, brighter than the morning star. There is joy in the valley, brighter than the morning star. Hey, me, hey, me, hey, me. There is love in the valley, brighter than the morning star. There is love in the valley, brighter than the morning star. There is love in the valley, brighter than the morning star. Save me, help me, help me. You know it's peace in the valley, peace, morning star. There is peace in the valley, brighter than the morning star. There is peace in the valley, brighter than the morning star. Save me, help me, help me. It's in the valley, 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 it's in the valley, in the valley. Whatever you need, it's in the valley. Jesus said, He'll give it to you. Whatever you desire, it's in the valley. It's in the valley. In the valley. In the valley. In the valley. Peace. In the valley. Love. It's in the valley. Joy. It's in the valley. Deliverance. It's in the valley. 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 Singing, hey, amen. Singing, hey, amen. Hey, amen. Hey, amen.
Listen, everybody, and while you're on your seats, put your hands together and bless the Lord with me. God has been good to you, and you know that's a fact. Now that it's offering time, let's give God something back. Baby, hear you say, wow, wow, glory, glory. It's offering time. It's offering time. It's offering time. It's offering time. Wow. Glory, glory. It's offering time. It's offering time. It's offering time. Listen, everybody. Somebody in here, I know you wanna write a check. Somebody in here, I know you wanna do your best. Get your pen out your pocket and your checkbook in your hand. So go on and write that check just as big as you can. Everybody say, wow, wow, glory, glory. It's offering time. It's offering time. It's offering time. It's offering time. Say, wow, wow, glory, glory. It's offering.
Esther. Let's go back to Esther. Amen. Esther. And this time I want you to go with me to the 5th chapter. Amen. The 5th chapter of the book of Esther. Esther 5. We're going to begin reading at verse 9. Esther 5. Amen. We were in Esther last week. Amen. I like it so much, I said, let's stay there. Amen. We're going to go to that 5th chapter this time. Esther 5, beginning at verse 9. Amen. Amen. I'm reading from the New King James translation this morning. There you'll find these words. So Haman went out that day, joyful and with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai in the king's gate, and that he did not stand or tremble before him, he was filled with indignation against Mordecai. Nevertheless, Haman restrained himself and went home. And he sent and called for his friends and his wife Zeresh. Then Haman told them of his great riches, the multitude of his children, everything in which the king had promoted him, and how he had advanced him above the officials and servants of the king. Moreover, Haman said, besides, Queen Esther invited no one but me to come in with the king to the banquet that she prepared, and tomorrow I am again invited by her along with the king. Yet all this avails me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. Then his wife Zeresh and all his friends said to him, let a gallows be made, 50 cubits high, and in the morning suggest to the king that Mordecai be hanged on it. Then go merrily with the king to the banquet. And the thing pleased Haman, so he had the gallows made. Amen. You may be seated. As we zone in on that 13th verse, yet all this avails me nothing, so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. For a few moments this morning, I would like to speak to you from the title for so much. The Apostle Paul, in the 13th chapter of the book of 1 Corinthians, explains to us what love is. Then he goes on to explain to us what love does and does not do. While I don't have time to exhaust that list this morning, I invite you to Bible study. We're going through it. I will say that one of the things the Apostle Paul mentions that love does not do is that love is not easily offended. In your translation, it may read love is not easily provoked, but several translations, that word provoked is translated to mean that love doesn't get uptight at every little thing. Yes. And I believe that that's important, and I believe that Paul put it there, and I believe that that's something that you and I need to take heed of today, because some of us in church, some of us are so quick to write one another off at the smallest of offenses. Some of us in the church become so uptight over the most insignificant words and actions. Stuff that we should not be getting uptight about seems to throw many of us into a tizzy. And Paul says when you have the love of Christ in your heart, little stuff doesn't get under your skin so easily. My brothers and my sisters, I submit to you this morning that we need to learn. And if it's difficult for us, we need to pray and ask God to help us not to be so easily offended. Lord, some of our prayer needs to be, Lord, help me stop sweating little stuff. We've heard that before. Don't sweat the small stuff. We've heard it said. And what it talks about is that we need to be careful about focusing our time and our energies over things that are simple and trivial. Well, that's easy for you to say. It might be simple to you. No. I'm just saying, you're right. We're all different. But some of us sweat stuff that ain't even worth our time. Some stuff we get upset about shouldn't even be getting energy. We shouldn't be focusing on. We should be focusing on what's ahead. But instead, we get bogged down by insignificant words and actions. And while it's important for us to understand that love is not easily offended, it's also important for us to understand that when you spend a bunch of your time and energy sweating small stuff, it has a negative effect on your life. Yeah. It has a negative effect on your life. Listen. And I want to show you in this story, in this text for today, how sweating over little stuff can cause things to unravel. Because we pay attention to the little stuff that shouldn't make a difference, before long it will begin to affect us in ways that we don't even recognize or understand. Last week we met Haman. Haman is the villain in our story. There is no question. Haman was not a man of God. As a matter of fact, Haman can best be described as a fool. But I remember my mama telling me something a long time ago. And you can learn from anybody, even a fool. Yeah. If you're wise enough, you can learn from a fool. And so we look today at this fool named Haman. When we introduced you to him on last week, we showed you that he was the main antagonist in the story. And Haman was upset because after his promotion, a man named Mordecai, a Jew, would not pay proper respect to him and his position. And so because Haman was upset that Mordecai wouldn't acknowledge him and his position, Haman became so upset that he sought out not only to destroy Mordecai, but he sought out to destroy all of Mordecai's people. He put a plan in to not only destroy this one man, but to destroy a whole nation of people. And because of his position, he weaseled and worked his way in and deceived the king. And he had the king sign an order to eradicate all of the Jews in the land. Yes, the king unwittingly and unknowingly signs the decree, gives Haman his ring, and it makes it the decree. And when Mordecai finds out, he gets word to Esther at what had happened and said, Esther, you are our ace in the hole. We need your help. Mordecai said, Esther, we need you now. Go in and talk to the king on our behalf, because this fool Haman has it in for us. You all remember last week I told you that at first Esther was reluctant to go in. But Mordecai explained to her, don't forget you one of us. Just because you up in the king's palace don't mean that this won't affect you. So she made up in her mind, and I told you, I didn't mention to you last week, but at the end, she made up in her mind. She said, yep, you're right. And I'm going to go in, and I'm going to speak to the king on my people's behalf. And if I perish, I perish. But I'm going to put in time with the king. And so she went in. The king granted her request, and she set this up. A dinner, she said. King, I want to prepare a feast for you. And at this feast, I'll tell you what I really want. I want to prepare a feast for you, and at that feast, I'll let you know what's really on my heart. But I need one more favor. Invite your second in command. I want Haman to come to the dinner. Yeah. And so Haman got the word that Queen Esther, this queen. But see, when you get so filled with rage and foolishness, see, because if he really understood, he would have known that this was a Jewish woman. But see, when you get so angry, that's why I tell you, be careful about letting your emotions get you all riled up. Because listen, and I tell folk this all the time, I tell you, the devil loves when we're emotional. Because when we're emotional, we don't think clearly. And anger is one of those emotions that causes us not to think clearly. And so in his rage at Mordecai, it never occurred to him that one of the queens was a Jew. But he got the invitation and he said, yeah, thank you. I'll make sure that I'm there. But there was a mistake that he made. He made a mistake. Not when he accepted the invitation, but after he had accepted the invitation. And that brings us to our text for today. And so we find out in verse 5 that in chapter 5, after Esther sets up this banquet and invites Haman, that Haman is delighted. Look at verse 9. Look at what it says. Me? You want me to come? Must be, because has to be. Somebody finally understands. Huh? Y'all see that? So he went out that day, verse 9 says, joyful and with a glad heart. I'm going to the dinner. I got an invitation to the dinner, and then nobody else get it but the king and me. See, if you smart, your antenna should have went up right there. That's right, Chandra. He wasn't thinking. So the Bible says that he went out that day joyful and with a glad heart. He was in a good mood, a happy mood. Things were good till he saw Mordecai. Y'all see that, verse 9? But when Haman saw Mordecai at the king's gate, and that Mordecai did not stand or tremble before him, he was filled with indignation. He went from happy to 38 hot. And I want to tell y'all something this morning. Some of us in here got some people in our life that just looking at them. Listen, I've heard folks say, I can't even stand to look at her. That's where Haman was. Listen, he let the fact that Mordecai wouldn't do this, steal the joy that he just had. Mordecai didn't say a word, but he stole his joy. That's why I tell y'all, don't sweat the small stuff. Now here's what I want y'all to understand. If Haman was smart, he would have known that this man is a Jew. And this man has made up in his mind that he is not going to bow down to me. Listen, when you know that somebody is some way, for you to try to argue with them, try to reason with them when they've already shown you, they've already told you, and you know, listen, this was nothing new for Jews. They understood that we only serve God. We bow down to no one. We don't bow to a king. We don't bow to a dictator. We don't bow to a president. We only bow down to God. And so Haman knew that. But instead of him accepting the fact that this man was never going to do what he wanted him to do, he allowed this insignificant thing, because that was the thing. Y'all, this was all about pride. I'm going to make you do what I want you to do. That's what it was all about. Listen, it was all about the fact that everybody else got scared when they saw me. Everybody else trembled when they saw me, but you don't. So all these people doing it, and one man won't. But you let that one man, Lord, I'm trying to help somebody today. You let that one person steal your joy. People of God, you got to understand today that sometimes you're wasting your time trying to convince folk otherwise, whatever that is, otherwise. Listen, I learned that. I've learned that in life. I've seen it. I ain't going too much into this, but I've seen it since the election. Some folk you just can't talk to. You can't. You wasting your time. They're never going to see what you're saying. And everything you say, they got something to come back at you. See, when you get there, when everything you got to say, you making sense and it's reasonable, and everything you say, they come back at you, at some point you got to say, you know what? You know what? But instead, listen, this was small. Everybody else kneels down except this one man. And so he spent too much time focusing on this one man, and it caused him to lose sight. It caused him to lose focus. And it causes us to do the same thing. Here's why I want to help y'all today. When we spend too much time sweating little stuff, it causes three things that I want to share with you. It causes more than that, but I ain't got time to share but three today. First of all, when you sweat the small stuff, it makes you forget who you are. That's the first thing it does. I need y'all to turn just right quick. We're going to go back. But go back to chapter 3 of Esther. Media ministry, pull up chapter 3, verse 1. Esther 3 and 1. Watch this. After these things, y'all got to go and read it for yourself what happened. It was a plot to kill the king, and it was exposed by Mordecai. But instead of him promoting Mordecai, he promoted Haman. Chapter 3, verse 1. After these things, King After these things, King Ahasuerus promoted Haman, the son of Hammedatha, the Agagite, and advanced him and set his seat above all the princes who were with him. And all the king's servants who were within the king's gate bowed and paid homage to Haman. For so the king had commanded concerning him. But Mordecai wouldn't. Everybody else did, but Mordecai wouldn't. Now I want y'all to notice something here. Notice that after the scripture says, but Mordecai would not bow or pay homage, nothing changed. Y'all, watch this. Mordecai wouldn't bow and pay homage, but that didn't cause the king to change Haman's position. Y'all missed that. Y'all missed that. Watch this. Watch this. We have come to understand that when we sweat little stuff and spend time and energy on that little stuff, we forget that ain't nothing changed with my position. Can I make it a little plain? All right, let me try to make it plain. We still don't say, forget who you are. Listen. One of the things I used to do for several years, I would teach the juvenile justice portion of the law enforcement certification process at Augusta Tech. They would call in all the people in the DA's office would come and do prosecution. They'd get somebody to come in and do investigations. So I would go in and do juvenile justice. Watch this. And I would always tell them this, because they were getting ready to go be police officers after they finished the academy. And I would always tell them this. I said, now listen, first thing I would tell them, I would say, listen now, y'all going to get this certification. Y'all going to be post-certified officers. And there are a lot of agencies out there that will be willing to hire you. But let me tell you something. If you don't like kids, don't go work for the Board of Education police. I don't care how much they paying. I don't care how many jobs they got. If you don't like kids, don't go work at the Board of Education, because that's all you're going to work with is kids. So don't go work for them. Wait for another job to come along, because if you don't like kids, don't go work there. And then I'll tell them this. I say, and then even those of you who go into your agencies, some of you are going to sheriff's departments, some of you are going to police departments. Let me tell you right now, let me warn you right now, some of your hardest cases are going to deal with kids. Because I'm going to tell you something. Kids, a lot of times, the kids y'all come in contact with, they're going to be very disrespectful. They're going to talk to you any kind of way. They're going to tell you what you ain't going to do to them. They're going to talk to you in ways that your own kids don't talk to you. A lot of these kids that y'all going to deal with, you ain't never seen nothing like them before. But I would say, but listen to me now. Don't let them kids make you forget that you the adult. And don't let them kids cause you to be on the news. You better remember that you are the adult, that you are who you are. No matter what that kid says to you, he can't change the fact that you are the law enforcement official. Ain't nothing he can do, nothing he say. Listen, if we got kids in our houses, no matter how mad, listen, my kids used to get mad at me, they did. But guess what? No matter how mad they got, it didn't change the fact that I was still their daddy. It didn't change who I was. Listen, when you know who you are, you learn that little stuff can't affect who you are and what you do. You don't get riled up by little stuff. You remember who you are, and no matter what that little stuff is, it ain't going to change that fact. If Haman had only realized, even if this one man won't bow to me, it doesn't change the fact that I'm still the number 2 man. I'm still second in command. But pride got a hold of him. And because of his pride, he starts sweating insignificant stuff. It didn't matter that Mordecai wouldn't pay homage to you, that he wouldn't kneel. Guess what? When the sun came up the next day, you were still going to be where you were. And some of us have to realize that when we spend time at little stuff, we got to learn to let stuff roll off. Because you spend time and energy over little stuff that can't change your outcome, don't change who you are, don't change your position. But you all mad. You don't let it forget who you were. And so Haman's mistake was he forgot who he was. Regardless of what Mordecai did or did not do, as long as the king didn't say, you demoted, you ain't demoted. But you got to remember in your life who you are. I'm a child of God. Remember that. I am the son of the king. I am a daughter of the king. King is the one that validates me. Not what people do or don't do. But if you sweat small stuff too long, you'll forget that. It'll cause you to forget who you are. But another thing I see, it'll cause you to forget what you have. It'll cause you to forget who you are and then forget what you have. Go back to the text. Go back to chapter 5. Go back to chapter 5. So Haman went out that day joyful with a glad heart. But when Haman saw Mordecai at the king's gate and did not stand or tremble before him, he was filled with indignation against Mordecai. And then watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Look. Nevertheless, Haman restrained himself and went home. I'm going to let him have that. I'm going to let him have that. If he had left it there, he would have been fine. He restrained himself, went home, and watch this. He sent and called for his friends and his wife. Blessings. Y'all know it's a blessing to have friends. No, I'm serious. There's some people that wish they had friends. They wish they had people they could call. They wish they had people they could depend on. They wish they had people who were there to pick them up when they fall down. It's a blessing. Friends are a blessing. Real friends, that is. Blessing. He had a wife. He who finds a wife finds a good thing. Men, our wives are blessings. No matter how angry they make us sometimes, they are blessings. They're blessings to us. They're blessings God provided for us. So we ought to love them and treat them and take care of them like the blessing that they are. Blessing. But watch this, verse 11. Then Haman told them of his great riches. Y'all, I got it. I'm telling you. I got so much I don't know what to do with it. The multitude of his children. Children are blessings, y'all. Good children are blessings. Huh? Y'all know back during the time when these books were written and recorded for the Bible, that one of the signs of wealth was a lot of children. Y'all remember Job? Yeah. Wealth, you got a lot of children that are blessed. So listen, so Haman, rich. The multitude of his children. Everything in which the king had promoted him and how the king had advanced him above officials and servants. So from Haman's own admission, he was abundantly blessed. He had what most people didn't have. Lord, somebody missed that. Let me tell these over here. He had what most people could only wish to have. abundantly blessed, great riches, multitude of children, friends, a wife, new promotion on the job. He had it. But one man and his anger and hatred towards one man, watch this, who didn't lay a hand on him, who didn't talk disrespectful to him, he just didn't say nothing. One man who couldn't change any of that made Haman forget who he was and all the blessings he had. And you know how I know he forgot what he had? Look at verse 13. I got all of this stuff. Look. He said, I got all of this. And Queen Esther invited no one but me to come in to the king's banquet that she prepared. And tomorrow I'm going over there to party with them. But all of this don't mean nothing. All my blessings don't mean nothing. All that God has given me don't mean nothing as long as I look at that, y'all. Look at verse 13. Yet all this avails me nothing so long as not Mordecai put a hand on him, long as I see. Just looking at the man made you forget everything God bless you with. Jesus. You mean to tell me that one man's, watch this, actions or inaction, should I say? Because Mordecai never did anything to him. He never touched him. Y'all remember what we used to say when we were little kids? Long as they don't put their hands on me. Mama used to tell you that too. As long as they don't put their hands on you, don't you get into what people say, as long as they don't put hands on you. Mordecai didn't put no hands on him. Mordecai didn't put hands on him. Mordecai didn't even say anything to him. But here, this one verse sums up what happens when we allow something so insignificant, watch this, to occupy so much of our energy. Occupy so much of our mind, to take up and drain so much of our energy. Nothing Mordecai could do could change the fact of who Haman was and what Haman had. Yet just looking at him, saying, I ain't happy with this. All of this avails me nothing so long as I got to look in his face. And I'm going to tell somebody today, if that's you, you need to get it out of you. You need to get it out of you where you letting people steal your joy and they ain't laid a hand on you. They stealing your joy. Listen, let me tell y'all something about people. I'm going to tell y'all something that I've noticed about people. People, listen, not all people. Let me say that. I'm going to say like Dr. Abrams tell me to say, not all people. Some people, listen, some people, when they know that they can get up under your skin, once they find out that pushing certain buttons get up under your skin. Now listen, the right thing for us to do, because the thing is, if you push somebody's button and you get up under your skin, the right thing to do is say, okay, well, all right, well, I'm going to stay away from that. But there are some people, remember on Jurassic Park, there I go, Chandra, with another movie. When the little dinosaur kept hitting the gate, and they kept saying, why is he hitting the fence? And he told them, he looking for a weakness. He looking for a weakness in the fence. And that's what people do to us. People will poke you. People will prod you. They won't put their hands on it. They'll do stuff. They'll do it on purpose. They'll say stuff, do things. And if you ain't careful, You will let what they do begin to creep into your spirit, and it'll begin to cause you to feel in ways that as a child of God you shouldn't feel, because what's around the corner, if you let it stay there long enough, understand that there are people who will do that. When they know that they can get to you, they're going to do everything they can to get up under your skin, hoping to provoke you. And I'm going to say one thing. I ain't going to say it too long. I'm going to move on. And one thing I'm going to tell you about those kind of people, they will poke you. They'll prod you. They're hoping to get a reaction out of you. And then as soon as you react, they the victim. And to a lot of people, listen, people who are around that might not know the backstory, to them it'll look like, well, dog, you ain't have to, ooh, goodness. They don't know that they've been Mordecai-ing you for 5 months. They don't know that. All they see is this Christian, this child of God, this church-fearing man, this God-fearing woman done blew up. Don't let small stuff make you forget what you already have. That was the other thing I used to tell those police officers. Don't forget, you the adult now. And it's always, we're going to be held more accountable than the child. Yeah, he might end up in court. But guess what? You mess around and let that child make you lose. Listen, you got a mortgage. You got a car note. You got kids in college. You got mouths to feed. So don't let that little boy, his jazzy mouth, cause you to jack him up or put hands on him, or you done choked him and body slammed him, and the next thing you know, because cameras everywhere. They everywhere. Just a reminder for anybody think you can get away. No, they everywhere. Everywhere. But my point I'm making is, when we sweat small stuff, we forget what we have. And when you forget what you got, you put it at risk. Because you don't value it the right way. So you put it at risk of losing it. Huh? So, all right, I gotta go. So, don't sweat the small stuff. Don't let it make you forget who you are. Don't let it make you forget what you have. Last thing, when we spend too much time sweating little stuff, we start to make foolish decisions. Remember I told you can learn from a fool? Learn from a fool is what not to do. That's what you learn from the fool, what not to do. Watch this. I'm going to show you in the text and we're done. After verse 13, yet all this avails me nothing so long as I see Mordecai the Jew sitting at the king's gate. I don't care what I got. I don't care who I am. Long as I got to look in his face. Long as I got to look in his face, I can't stand him. As long as I got to look at his face, I can't be happy. So his wife says to him, verse 14, and the friends co-sign what the wife said. Tell you what to do. Make a gallows. Put it 50 feet high. Watch this. And then go to the king. Tell him about Mordecai when you go to the banquet. And tell the king that you want him hung on it. The Bible says that this pleased Haman. I like that. Yeah, I like that. I like that. See, when you let little stuff take you too far, you make foolish decisions because you listen to foolish people. See, one thing you got to always listen. I don't care who you surround yourself with. Who are your advisors? Who your advisors are, you have to always pray to God to give you spiritual discernment. And listen, when you do that and you let God give you the discernment, when you hear foolishness, you will recognize foolishness. See, here was the thing. This pleased Haman. But if he had asked God for spiritual discernment, God would have told him, don't waste your time with that. Why? Why? Does him not speaking to you change anything? Why are you getting so upset about that? Watch. So listen. So you're going to listen to these people who don't know me. See, the whole problem with Haman was he wasn't godly. But that ain't our story, y'all. We learning from this fool that we don't need to be like that. Listen, even if you got friends, ask God to show you, because sometimes friends will give you foolish advice. Sometimes friends, listen, and they don't do it, some of them don't do it on purpose, some of them do. Some of them don't do it on purpose. Sometimes they love you so much that they won't hold you accountable. Or they won't say, no, don't do that. No, don't do that. No, instead, his wife told him, the friends co-signed it, and he ratified it. He signed off on it. Yep, I like that idea. So he allowed this man to make him forget who he was, forget what he has, and then set a trap for the man that unfortunately was for him. Because one thing you got to always understand, this is why I say don't worry about you let small stuff make you forget who you are. As long as you a child, because you a child of the king, there's certain things that ain't going to happen. It ain't going to happen. No matter how hard people try, no matter what they do, no matter what plans they make. Listen, just like the book of Isaiah says, listen, no weapon formed against you will prosper. Listen, that's real. And when people try to set traps for you, when people try to do you in, when they lie on you, when they misrepresent you, listen, understand because of who you are, God ain't going to let it happen. And because of who Mordecai was, God was not going to let this happen to Mordecai. And not only was he not going to let it happen to Mordecai, he was going to make sure that because you set the trap, you going to fall in it. Don't you allow little stuff to make you set traps for people and do stuff that's ungodly, because when godly people do ungodly things, there's always going to be a spiritual price to pay. Anytime that you go against what God has told you to do and what you know is right, it's going to always be a spiritual price to pay. You can't go around doing people wrong. You can't go around setting traps for people. You can't go around telling lies for people. You can't go around messing with things that belong to others and not expect that there won't be some spiritual consequences. As children of God, yes, we're protected by God, but God also says for us, don't you do it. Don't you do it. There are certain things that God expects of us. And one of those things is simply this. As godly people, we handle people in godly ways. We don't allow what people do or don't do cause us to do ungodly things. If Haman had only understood that, like I told y'all, Haman was the fool, but we're godly people. We're going to learn from this fool that anytime you set a trap for somebody, just understand now, that trap may be for you. Because God says, listen, because you're godly, it's my battle to fight, not yours. You don't fight the battle. Don't you worry about setting traps. Don't you worry about it. I got your back. That's what God says. I got your back. And I want y'all to know something today, that God works in ways when you don't even see him working, when you don't know him working. Listen, I told y'all last week there was a reason Esther was so pretty. God made her pretty because he knew one day I'm going to put her in place to do what I need her to do. And the trap that Haman set for her was a trap that he fell into. So don't let it make you make foolish decisions. Don't let it make you make ungodly decisions. Because anytime we make ungodly decisions, it's going to always be spiritual consequences. And that's the thing. So, if you don't take anything else away from this today, take this away. Stop letting little stuff, insignificant stuff. Step back. Think about it. Before you speak, before you act, step back. Think about it. Does this don't change who I am. This can't take away what I already have. No, I'm not going to do that. That ain't godly. I'm mad. I'm mad. But that's not godly. I can't. Listen, the Bible even tells us how to act when we're angry. Be angry. Thank you. Be angry and sin not. Bible even tells us how to act when we're angry. So don't let anger pull you down. But understand, y'all, stop sweating the small stuff. Stuff is so insignificant. There's somebody in here today that ain't speaking to somebody. Now, I'm not saying that it was, listen. All I'm saying is this. The Bible tells us that love is not easily provoked. Love keeps no record of wrongs. Love is always looking to give others the benefit of the doubt. Love is always looking to reconcile with people. So if you today are here, listen, I know that it might not have been a small thing to you, but in the grand scheme of things, it was. Because if it didn't change who you are or what you have, don't let it sap all your energy. You can't even be happy. You can't even be happy. You can't even smile because you still think about something that happened at the class reunion 7 years ago. Y'all receive that today. Let's